Welcome back to Gatekeeper Media's coverage of the 2023 Jonesboro Open. This is the Round 3, Front 9 Chase Card coverage. I'm Andrew Fish, joined here by Nathan Queen.
And although we are at the same course today, we are playing a different course today. As the wind has picked up, we're going to see it in the 20-mile-an-hour sustained area with gusts that seem to be 35 to 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely going to be some unpredictable results today. Forgive us if we openly laugh at some results. Kyle Klein, Bradley Williams, Isaac Robinson, and Emerson Keith are going to be on our chase card today. Nathan, we've seen a couple chase card wins already this year, and with the wind conditions, a little bit of chaos and help from the lead card, maybe somebody's pushing.
Absolutely. Very unpredictable what could happen with the wind.
Kyle Klein, sponsored by Discmania. We saw him earlier this year at Waco. He's going to be putting with the Logic. I imagine we're going to see some of those more stable mid-ranges on a couple of these holes, but then throwing his fast DD3s, DD1s, whatever he's got.
Bradley Williams going to be putting with the Nexus Firefly. Might see some pick-up shots today with the wind, but mainly going to see some Firebird, Destroyer, and maybe some Eagles for the fairway drivers.
We saw Isaac Robinson in round 1 here, putting with the PA3. He will throw the M3 and M1 for his mid-ranges, and be reaching for the D1 and D model OS for his big distance shots. Very confident with his FX2, FX4 for hyzer flip fairways.
And we saw Emerson yesterday, still putting with that Blue Bonnet Victor plastic. Gonna be seeing a lot of the bayonet again, and maybe some more stable versions of it, maybe even disking up to that Warbird. Straight into hole 1, 470 feet, with the idea of a ripping right to left wind today, but it just depends on what time you throw.
Starting us off from Wyoming, Michigan, Kyle Klein.
Yeah, Nathan, a big theme today going to be get your wind read, trust it, but kind of embrace the chaos. Know that the wind direction, the wind intensity might change or might be entirely different a few hundred feet down the fairway.
And it looks like these guys are all finding out right now that it's quite swirly, and it's pulled Kyle's over very quickly. He's going to end up in those trees over on the right side. Looks like he falls down to a scramble spot, though.
Teeing off second from Austin, Texas, Bradley Williams.
And I'm very interested to see how Bradley attacks this course. He is not known as a power player. He is one of the best control players in the world. So good at spinning discs and manipulating his angles. Going to throw a hyzer flip that's a little bit low. He comes up in circle 2. And another big theme today, what are players going to do with those bonus chances?
Georgia, Isaac Robinson.
And circle 2 is what those bonus chances are today. That wind is ripping hard enough. You might see a lot of layups from that 50, 55-foot area.
Really like the look of this. Thrown high, drifting to the right, stability to fight back.
Only thing he could have done better was left it short, because he's now putting back into that headwind a little bit.
PM tee time out of Pilot Point, Texas, Emerson Keith.
Can't be too picky about that, though.
Definitely not. Go Braves.
You're always looking for that, aren't you? Anytime you see crowd shots.
I'm not looking for it.
It just appears for you?
Yeah, it just shows up.
Emerson does sneak past the last tree island on the left in circle 2.
And Kyle having to deal with a bit of low branches. I was in a similar spot today, and I had to throw through them, but the wind was moving my gap. So that is another thing that the players might have to deal with today. If they get into a little bit of rough, the gap may move.
Bradley from, I think, outside circle 2 makes a credible run, but able to stop pretty close. Emerson from mid circle 2. The wind has slacked a little bit.
And maybe he was expecting the wind to push it to the left a bit more. Really trusting that putter. Ends up off to the right, but Isaac Robinson able to connect on the first hole. Just 20% of the field today, lower than previous days.
Yeah, as we've seen this course getting shredded, there was some talk about, is it too soft? Are the players too good? I think day 3 answers pretty emphatically that this course is exactly as hard as it needs to be. As Emerson not able to clean up his par. A lot of different scoring spreads out here and a lot of different challenges being presented. This is a more seasonable wind for the Jonesboro area.
This is more what I'm used to being out here. The 2 days before this are the calmest that I've played the tournament before in the last 4 years.
Klein able to scramble. And Nathan, I think sometimes it's nice to be not in a spot where you feel like you have to go for the putt because it's circle 2. Like there's no temptation from where Kyle was. Hole 2, a par 4 at 820 feet. This initial gap shot on the right side of the fairway needs to swing back towards the left, kind of a low spot in the landing zone. And then as we move back uphill, a low branch is the defining feature at about 100 feet away. There is out of bounds long and left of the basket, and wind tended to be from the right to the left, but varied between head and tail.
And I think the wind actually came into favor of the players on this hole today. As you see Isaac Robinson getting way up the fairway, because of that right to left off to the tee, that does seem to turn into a tailwind as they turn that corner. People are getting big pushes up that fairway and get you a lot closer to attack on your second shot, which is also easier because it seems to play as that tailwind.
Kyle Klein doesn't really pick between the high window and low window, kicks over to the left, and then a pretty decent roll to potentially put himself in that 400-foot range.
That was a great roll.
Williams going low, hitting the gap nicely. Good forward penetration.
Yeah, and getting that late wind push also.
Emerson Keith. You see he keeps his disc on hyzer. Lets the wind just push it.
And ends up in a great spot. Although the grass is a little taller there, it's pretty dry right now, so shouldn't really affect footing too much.
And this is a route we haven't seen on coverage this year on Gatekeeper's feature and chase cards, taking the big, wide right side.
Yeah, and didn't quite make it back, it seems. Maybe trying to play with that tailwind, or a little bit of right to left still, thought it would push it farther up there.
Bradley, full swing, pretty complex angles to manage, does so very, very well. The Anheuser wants to smash the shot down, and then a little bit of a late wind lift, and gets himself a tailwind putt, also critical. Keith looking to follow that, keeps his disc very low and driven.
Got a good amount of ground play there, but still going to be right around circle's edge, probably in circle 2. Also with that tailwind putt, though, like you said. Very nice for a day like today.
Robinson from about 340. This is high immediately and will get knocked down.
Where? Okay.
Where is a good question. I doubt Kyle played from that spot in any practice round.
Yeah, he's up there on the green for a par, but probably not as close as you would like to be today. As you could see, Isaac right there wanted nothing to do with even trying to give that a mid.
Bradley a little frustrated to come up short. It's hard to throw it at the flag and know that it's going to drop. And Emerson able to squeak it just over the cage.
Yeah, just high enough with enough pace. He's able to connect and bounce back from that bogey on the first hole, getting him back to even.
And Klein for his par.
With the wind push today, this hole did average under par just barely at a 3.95, but lots of other holes playing harder has pushed this to the 9th most difficult on the hole. 9th most difficult hole on the course rather than the 4th or 5th. Moving into hole 3, a 435-foot par 3. Again, the idea of a right to left headwind, but swirling all around. Try to get something as flat as you can. Just deal with the least amount of angles possible.
And in previous days, we kind of introduced this as being between a fairway and distance driver. Today, it is all distance driver. You want all the stability and speed you can to fight the wind and not let it get toyed with. There is out of bounds to the left. So imagine we're going to see players deliberately try to get it to the right of the basket.
Yeah, and a flat release there from Isaac. I like that out of the hand. Does get packed down a little early. Going to be outside circle 1.
And Klein may actually be going with that fairway driver, but
Oh boy.
never got it over. This is tracking towards that left out of bounds and does find it.
Yeah, some fairway drivers do handle wind very well, but you've got to make sure you get on it. Get what you need out of it, or it's just going to do what Kyle's did there. Bradley really trusting something with a little less stability. Difficult to do in a wind like this, but gets it out there nicely, and he's up inside circle 1.
Yeah, that's knowing everything about how your disc is going to fly to start it left of the basket on a touch of hyzer. High level shot from Bradley Williams.
Seems to be a bit of a lull in the wind for Emerson.
And really nicely judged run. Unfortunately, what does not fall. Nathan, I definitely saw some players using the rules to their advantage in a good way by taking their 30 seconds, trying to wait for a wind slack.
Absolutely. As gusty as it was today, you've got to do that. If you don't, then you're not playing as smart as you could. Nice birdie there for Bradley.
Hey, I'm Bradley Williams. You guys can follow me at Bradley Disc Golf on Instagram. And I'd like to shout out my sponsors for supporting me during the 2023 season. We got Innova Champion Discs, we got Bang a Chain, Squatch Bags, and there's more to become next year. Thank you guys for supporting me.
Hole 4, another par 4 at 660 feet. A low branch to contend with as the main feature of the tee shot. If you can successfully get past that, then it leads a pretty wide open backhand hyzer into this green, which is surrounded by out of bounds left and long. Wind is generally going to play right to left headwind on this tee. You see that just pulling Bradley's drive into the tree on the right. He's going to be about 400 feet.
Yeah, that's in a get your par position from there, and you'll be happy.
Keith keeping it low, driving a hyzer flip, and pretty decent ground play.
Yeah, that's one of the better shots you can really get away with on this hole with this type of wind. The angles that you have to use to turn it over like that, difficult for the right-handed backhand not to get packed down.
And good example of getting packed down. Isaac Robinson peers the gap, but finds lots of ground. And Klein, I think this may be the same disc he threw on the previous hole. Navigates pretty successfully up towards where Emerson was.
Yeah, which I think is a pretty good shot today. If you feel comfortable with the forehand, you could get a little more distance out of that. But that one is possible to lift into the branch off of the tee.
Bradley wanting nothing to do with the aggressive shot. Plays a forehand out to the right. Isaac does appear to be attacking this. Drifting shot. Up into circle 2, it looks like. We'll see how aggressive he feels as a putter today. Usually it's as aggressive as it gets.
Looks like Kyle going to be going after this green as well. Going over stable mid-range.
That is outrageous. That's so good.
Yeah, that might have been a putter. And he's up inside the circle. Either way, that's a fantastic shot. All that OB around the basket. That's really trusting your disc and your throw.
Looks like a little bit more of a dedicated hyzer from Emerson. Gives it the width, and the stability just drops it inside circle 1. Nicely done. And Bradley, smoothly executed layup. High side of the green.
Isaac is fully aggressive on that. Does end up landing inbounds on the other side. Gonna have a par come back. Here's Kyle's birdie look after a fantastic upshot.
Wow, and slams it in high. Nicely done. Gets him back to even on the round. And I think you have to adjust your expectations. Where you wanted to be a couple down after 4 holes, now it's more like 2 is really good. 1 is keeping you in the hunt.
Yeah. And for both of the players so far that got a bogey, they were able to bounce back with a birdie on the next hole. I think that's key as well, to get your momentum going back. On a day like today, birdies are going to be more difficult to come by, and to be able to immediately get it after a bad stroke. And Emerson getting back under par now. Moves us into hole 5, what you could call a par 4 possibly today with the change in wind. 495 feet, got OB just in front of the basket. Most likely gonna see some layup plays, but you could see him go for it also. The wind seems a bit down right now, kind of playing headwind. I think it changed a lot throughout the day.
At some times of day, it was a tailwind, and I saw some players running the green and being successful at it. But I think if you're going wide here, it implies layup. Play it as a 2-shot hole, try to drop in your par, and walk on to some more attackable ones. Nathan, going back to our conversation on the previous hole, a day like today isn't all about winning. It's not all about getting to first. It's about keeping yourself level and not playing yourself out of a pretty good position. This is a long season with Disc Golf Pro Tour points, and ensuring that you can get a top 10, a top 20 finish at worst after 2 really solid rounds is part of the goal.
Absolutely. Those 2 solid rounds that you put in has gotten you to the place that you're at now. And with the conditions that you have today, the score is not going to be that high. So if you can just focus on staying as clean as possible and get the birdies where you can, that's still going to land you in a great spot.
Yeah, being on this chase card, there's a lot of other folks out there who are hungry. Let them make the mistakes and hold on to your position. A couple good layups thus far. I imagine we're going to see very little ambition with chain high runs.
Yeah, that one might have been, that looked a bit more aggressive, just offline to the left.
And Bradley immediately also makes a liar out of me.
Yeah, that one wasn't chain high, though. It was above. it was higher than that. But did stop pretty quickly. Might have been a tailwind at the moment. The flags in the back suggest otherwise. But that's 250 feet away. The wind's a little different over here.
Yeah, microclimates here in Jonesboro. So 4 sneeze, nothing to threes at on hole 5. And hole 6, an absolutely gorgeous island hole. Definitely going to play harder today. Anything that doesn't land and bounce has to proceed to a drop zone. The island is about 60 feet deep and maybe 40 feet wide at the center. Overstable forehands. Likely to be thrown by many players in the field. Keith does this very well.
Yeah. Gets a nice chain high skip. Going to get that gallery going in the background a little bit. They showed out nice today.
Absolutely.
All weekend.
A nice sunny day. And I think they were referring to this as Party Hill. Oh, wow. Kyle playing a hyzer flip mid. Coming slow. Maybe a putter.
Yeah, and he lands it on the island. Might have been nervous the entire time, but he's going to have his birdie look.
I was on his behalf. Bradley swinging right side, going to use some stability on the end. And that's more what I expect to see. Just let the disc do the finish. Don't try to coast something in there.
Yeah, and he does it nicely. Just outside the bullseye.
And Robinson with that read, going to follow it almost identically. A little more speed and pace.
Yeah, but all 4 players on the island going to be looking at a birdie, which even with the wind is kind of needed on this hole today. Still 56% of the field carding a birdie. All right.
That's a good miss, Kyle. In the bucket. And Nathan, another year of no aces on hole 6.
Do you know how many years that is?
I don't, but it's just staring at us 315 feet away. How do we not put it in?
Something about that wind at Jonesboro. Something about that wind also did cause 28% of the field to take a bogey or worse on this hole. So even with over half of the field taking the birdie, it was the 13th most difficult.
Yeah, that's generating a little more scoring spread than on previous days.
And even on a day like today, gonna get that first diamond.
What's up, guys? Kyle Klein here. If you want to follow me on socials, find me at Kyle Klein DG on Instagram or Kyle Klein on YouTube. If you want to also support me and just buy any of my fundraiser tour series discs, discmania.net or discmaniastore.net or greatlakesdisc.com.
I just think the plastic is very premium. It's a high quality material. The way the disc feels in my hand.
I think it's the quality of plastic.
It's unlike any other plastic that you'll find in the industry.
The quality is better than any other company out there.
Again, just consistent plastic. It's something I can consistently trust on every single throw.
There's so many discs to choose from, and I guarantee if you tried every disc in the lineup, you're gonna want to put multiple discs in your bag.
It's extremely high quality. You can only say so much that they have to eventually just try it themselves and see.
Bradley Williams, I am sorry for you, sir. That was a brutal spit out. Should have never happened. We are moving on to hole 7, though. 675 foot. Par 4, still playing as one of the easier par 4s on the course. Second easiest hole on the course today. Get up and around this first bush towards the second tree he's heading towards. You'd like to land to the right or the left of it, so you have an entrance into the green. If you're up on top of the hill, it's a better upshot. Man, that was very mean.
I'm still in shock. Both of us put our hands up over our head, didn't know what to think about. Emerson Keith a little low on the shot. Kyle Klein a good correction, but both still in reasonable position. Isaac Robinson going to take the right side. And there's a little more distance potential over here. However, the wind was pushing things down the hill a little less favorably than on our Friday and Saturday rounds. Bradley going to play a hyzer flip up the left side, and will stall out to the left, giving him a pretty good turnover angle into the bucket.
Emerson gonna have to do some forehand flexing here after he's behind this tree. This looks like a really good shot, but does not quite get past those guardian trees. Gonna be just outside the circle there.
I think a lot of people end up frustrated by the rows of trees on the front and back sides of this green. It is pretty accessible from this front side, so important to set yourself up and throw a shot angle that isn't dealing with them.
Yeah, and that was a great backhand shot from Bradley. Up and around this corner, dealing with all this wind, he's able to get himself inside the circle. As this is more the shot that you typically see from over there. Kyle Klein putting it almost in the bullseye.
Yeah, very nicely done with the low running forehand. Robinson is going to try to play the front door and does so very well. I think he was smart to not try to completely pin that, but to aim for the left side of the bullseye, widen his angle somewhat.
Yeah, make sure he misses those trees to get around. Missing those trees put you a little closer. As Emerson absolutely expecting that to drop, as you see that flag ripping as a tailwind coming behind Emerson's back. Typically you would see it drop like it made Bradley's drop there.
Yeah, maybe difficult to commit to that after his result on hole 6, wondering if the basket's going to accept another perfect putt. Isaac Robinson in for his 3.
So 54% of the field still took the birdie on this hole today, and even with the wind, only 2 bogeys today.
I guess that's a little surprising, but it was playing with kind of a tailwind,
right?
Which helps achieve the distance, even if it is resulting in more layups. Hole 8, 324 feet, a par 3 to an elevated basket. Must get around the cluster on the right side. That's the real danger zone. Wind was certainly swirly, so we're likely to see this forehand out of Kyle Klein. I think Emerson will do the same. And the backhand turnover a lot squirrelier today.
Yeah, this one seemed to play a lot more difficult to the eye to get this right around the corner today. With the headwind kind of left to right as well. Every forehand you see, if you put it up in the air, it would, oh my goodness. And Isaac just taking the board slide off of the tree there is going to put it in the circle with the improbable shot with the backhand. But these forehands, if you try to push it out, it would kind of turn over. But then if you put it up like this, a lot of the time it would push backwards into these trees. Emerson has no problem with any of that. He's just going to drop it in the bullseye. Let's take a look at that one again.
I like that he's solving the problem with stability, kind of just yamming on an overstable distance driver and a pretty good backstop to bounce towards the basket instead of continuing up the hill.
Yeah, that big jump you saw in the middle of his flight is what usually has been, or what I saw pushing discs back into this big grouping of trees.
Bradley, if this has the distance, it's pretty good, but is going to drop near circle's edge, I think. And if you watch Isaac's shot again, technical backhand, he actually throws a little more overstable rather than a turnover as well. Kyle Klein, the aggressive run from a knee, in the wind, uphill, both ways in the snow.
Yeah, very ambitious. I didn't expect that to hit the cage. Bradley, is that Bradley?
Yeah, sure is.
Bradley able to connect for his birdie from nowhere. Couldn't even see him.
I like that this is a directionally specific green. It's difficult to throw today, but making players use a specific side is pretty cool.
Yeah, and we did still get 3 birdies today. Kyle Klein tapping into his par after a pretty good bid from where he was at. In a hole that definitely played harder today, hole 9, 750-foot par 4. You'd really like to get to this area ideally so you could get up and over this hill with a hyzer towards this branch that's resting on the ground, or if you get far enough, there is a little forehand flex shot to get into the green. But you've got to worry about getting out of this gap right now, dealing with a bit of a headwind or swirling left to right possibly.
And that wind frequently pulling discs over to the right, as we saw with Isaac Robinson's. Emerson going to throw a little more stable. This is coasting to the left. That'll land him in a pretty darn good spot. Another big backhand hyzer from there.
Bradley able to get a little bit of distance, not as much as you're looking for. Going to be in a par position from there, but does get across and out of the gap.
Kyle Klein immediately going to the right.
Oh,
Blocked down. He'll be more than 500 feet away from the basket, and I think in a pretty swampy area.
yeah, you can hear a lot of rustling leaves, not somewhere that they've cleaned up to make look good for us, but that's an incredible shot.
Yeah, I would say the average player is getting a 4.5 on the hole. Kyle has made it so that he's got a 100-foot little layup into the green. Very well done.
And this looks great from Bradley as well, having to turn something over into the wind like that, but able to trust it, and it does come back out.
Emerson uphill footing, pushing it, and this looks like it's going to come in short of the branch. And good little skip and roll to, back into circle 2, temporarily in circle 1.
Yeah, that's a good play on the first 2 days when the wind was down. Today, that is fantastic to be able to get to a spot like that. There were 54 birdies on this hole through the first 2 rounds.
What about on Sunday?
You want to take a guess?
I bet was it 54 total?
54 total before today.
15 maybe.
Not even. Yeah, there were only 9 birdies on this hole today, jumping it to the second hardest hole on the course for the final day.
Yep, there's the teeth of Jonesboro. A hole that kind of gives them up becomes very, very difficult to access, very difficult to putt on.
And surprising for me to see Bradley give that a bit of a run. That's more what you would expect to see, I think. Just a nice little layup. Emerson, however, kind of in a position you want to run it. He's got a tailwind, but man, showing you why you might not want to run it.
Comebacker for Williams. And you see his frantic gesticulations, not sure what the wind is doing to his disc or not doing. Emerson cages and will also take a bogey.
Yeah, not only the wind wreaking havoc off of the tee, but wreaking havoc on confidence on the putting green as well. Hard to feel confident knowing what your disc is going to do when the wind's jumping around so much like this.
Yeah, absolutely. But in general, our chase car doing pretty well through the front here. Anything under par is not terrible. You see everybody's hanging around in that top 10 thus far, and Isaac Robinson in a tie for 6th.
Yeah, under par is good today, and all of our players under par through the front 9 have an opportunity to score even more on this back 9.
And at this point, 4, 5 through the front is kind of the hot. That lead card not doing that much. So in the back, we might have another opportunity for a chase card champion.
Definitely so. Got more OB to deal with the wind. Hole 16, par 5. Gonna play a lot more difficult. Make sure you tune back in to check it out. For Andrew Fish, I'm Nathan Queen. We'll see you guys out there.